Today we're talking about the watches you can buy at several different price points that saw the greatest rise in market price over 2021. Watch charts can help you find your next watch at a great price. You can easily browse private listings from across the web, research market prices for thousands of watch models, and a lot more. Check out our research tools at watchcharts.com. So to talk about the watches that saw the greatest increases in price at various price points, it's important to talk about the methodology a little bit before we get started. So these valuations assume that we're talking about private party sales happening in the United States for pre-owned watches with box and papers. It's important to put these qualifiers in because, of course, we know without controlling for these variables, prices can vary quite a bit. So, starting at around $5,000, we're looking at a Tudor, but not one of the ones that you might expect. We're going to be actually talking about the Tudor Heritage Black Bay Black 79220N in 41 millimeters. Based on our data, the market price for this watch rose a very strong 31% over 2021 to a current market average just north of $5,000. This watch is no longer in production or available really for its retail price of $3,425. The reason that it has gained as much value as it has is because as Tudor as a whole continues to gain mind share and market share with their more recent releases in the Black Bay 58 and Pelagos lines, collectors are looking backwards to see where did Tudor's current design language evolve from. And so this particular reference has smiley face text on the lower half. It features the Tudor Rose logo printed in the top half of the dial. It's a thinner case profile relative to the subsequent releases that had the in-house movement. This was actually the last ETA movement Tudor Black Bay before they shifted to in-house movements, and according to the internet is estimated to have just a 5-month production run. So that helps you kind of contextualize why, given its rarity, it's continued to see such a strong growth in price. Next up, and we're going to move up from about $5,000 to about the $10,000 mark, is an Omega Speedmaster. But which one? The reference that saw the greatest increase in its market price at around this price point is from the Tokyo Olympics 2020 limited edition collection. The reference 522.30.40.30.04.001. Omega's really not making my job any easier. This watch retailed at around $6,000. It was supposed to be exclusive to the Japanese market and is currently averaging around $11,500, which means it's up more like around 45% over 2021. As far as what the watch itself is, it's a standard issue Speedmaster Professional except for the visual changes. So the Japan exclusive release happened back in 2000. It was announced back in 2018 and was one of 5 watches released as part of the Olympics collection, of each of which had 2020 pieces. This is not the first time that Omega has done a Panda dial on the Speedmaster Professional. The last one that I could find was from 2004 for the 35th anniversary of the Apollo 11 mission. And of course, they've done Panda dials on other Speedmaster models and also reverse Pandas across the range. From what we can see, this watch has never been listed on eBay or in any forum listings for below retail price, even for the listings that show the watch being in slightly used condition, which is a pretty interesting observation. Okay, so we're going to keep moving up the price ladder, and this time actually we're going to see what's sitting around the $30,000 price mark. And the watches are not going to be as unexpected, perhaps, once we kind of cross over into the rarefied air that we're now observing. So we're going to kick it off with the Vacheron Constantin overseas date stainless steel reference 4500V/110A-B483 with the black dial. This watch retails for $22,500 if you can get it. but is currently going on the market for around $30,000, seeing an impressive rise of 61% in market value in 2021. Of course, the blue dial is in even greater demand and commands an additional $10,000 premium, give or take. So in case you're wondering where the value is in today's market, dial colors are basically what we're reduced to talking about. The overseas, of course, is the successor to the reference 222 from Vacheron. And in this particular instance is the beneficiary of a rising tide, which I'll talk about a little bit more towards the end of the video. We're just going to keep climbing that ladder and this time get closer to around the $50,000 mark. And the second to last watch we're going to talk about, which is the Audemars Piguet 26320 ST, the Royal Oak chronograph in stainless steel at 41 millimeters. This watch sits pretty at around $48,000, rising a comparable to the Vacheron 58% over 2021. And throughout that year, from what we can tell, based on our data, never traded below retail that entire time. There's really nothing to say about the Royal Oak as a watch design that hasn't already been said. It's arguably the progenitor of the genre in which it sits of watches, and is definitely the lifeboat into which authorology piled back in the 70s in response to the arrival of quartz watchmaking. And so that being said, we're going to now talk about the final watch in this series, which is sitting at or above the $100,000 mark. And of course, the no surprises winner here is the now finally discontinued Nautilus 5711. In this particular instance, we're talking about the 5711/1A-010 with the blue dial. It ended the year at a market average of $120,000 for, again, a comparable gain to the previous two watches of 64% over the course of the year. The story here, of course, is far from over. Prices continue to see volatility up to $250,000 and beyond for some listings. And it's, of course, very much fueled by the last two releases for the 5711 that kind of formed the final hurrah for this watch, the green dialed and the Tiffany dialed variants. Seeing how prices for this watch have risen almost make me wish for the simpler times of the vintage Daytona mania from back in 2018 and 2019 after the Paul Newman Daytona sold for a ridiculous $17+ million at auction. But this really kind of gives you a sense of how insanely prices rose over 2021. It also kind of summarizes for us the fact that all of the hype and the market demand seems to be around stainless steel, integrated bracelet, sports watches, because all three of the watches that we talked about at the $30,000, the $50,000, and the $100,000 plus price points have been from that genre. And of course, what this tells us is that watches are no longer, of course, watches per se anymore. They're now increasingly being seen as an asset class in their own right. And it'll be interesting to see whether that trend continues in 2022. And if so, which particular references this year are going to see similar gains in value or maybe even greater gains in value. What do you think? Let us know in the comments below, or come check out watcharts.com and find your next great watch.